What's up, dudes? My name is Jesse Milestone, and this is my totally excellent review of Bill and Ted 3 Face the Music. Now, before we dive into the review itself, I just want to take a second to say a great big thank you to Tom from Midnight's Edge, who's the reason I got to check out this film ahead of its release, as well as let you guys know there will be spoilers, but not till later. So I will give you plenty of ample warning before we dive into the spoilers. We're going to start out 100% spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the film yet, you have nothing to worry about for the first few minutes. All right, so I first saw Bill and Ted when I was young, and it had a great impact on me. I love the characters. I love Keanu Reeves, always have. And I've had a friend and I used to constantly look at each other and go, "Wild Stallions!" So that was a part of my life growing up. Bogus Journey, I didn't catch till recently. There's some elements I really love. Bill Sadler's death, excellent. Thrilled to hear he was coming back. Station, could take or leave it. Thrilled to hear he wasn't coming back. But overall, the two big questions and concerns I had coming into Bill and Ted 3, which I was super stoked for before it came out, because, hey, these are two people coming back to this project because they love it. They're not doing this for money. They're not doing it for fortune and glory and fame. They're doing it because they love this universe, they love this story, and they want to keep telling it. That's why they made this film. So I was very excited, but I had some questions, I had some concerns. I'm not big on the, hey, let's go undo the happily ever after, which is really where it feels like we left them at the end of Bogus Journey. Why are we now erasing this future, this beautiful future they're supposed to have, to go, watch our heroes not be the heroes and you have to work to be the heroes again? Why do I want to see that? Also, the end of Bogus Journey, we were introduced to Little Bill and Little Ted. Why do we have daughters all of a sudden? That seems weird. Is this going to go woke? Is this going to be the daughters trying to, upstage their dads, trying to steal their spotlight, steal their thunder? Those are my moments of trepidation going into this film. And I got to say, both of those concerns were erased within the first, 5 or so minutes of watching it. So without further ado, here were my thoughts on Bill and Ted 3. Overall, I felt it was excellent. I felt it was a great follow-up, a third in the trilogy. Now we have a full trilogy here, a great continuation of the story. And that's not easy to do. We've seen people fail time and time again at creating a great sequel. The trap is right there in front of you. How do I pick up where the story left off and tell a new story that is faithful to the original without remaking it? And we see people fail by just doing the remake with The Force Awakens. We see people go too far in the other direction to the point where the source, doesn't even feel relevant to the source material, like in Star Trek Discovery. But Bill and Ted 3 hits that nail on the head. They take the best parts of the first two films. They don't take anything away from those. They don't retcon or change or go back on or alter any impressions you got from those first two films, but they pick up the story in an entirely new place and carry it forwards. We end someplace different than we began, which is of course someplace different than when we first found these two high school F-ups at the beginning of the first movie. I don't know why I said F. I'm no problem saying fuck up my videos. Anyway, so like I said, that first issue I had, are we going to get a movie chock full of wokeness? Why do we have these girls? And again, I didn't actually feel they needed to justify why they did that after seeing the film, diving a little into it, understanding why they made that choice. But they did, and I appreciated that nod, that acknowledgement of, yeah, we had this one way in Bogus Journey, and now it seems like it's different, so here's why. I'm down for it. I'm down for them giving us it's really one little line for that justification, and that's fine. But the reality is, this story needed daughters. It needed daughters more than it needed sons because of the nature of the way they tell it. If you've seen anything from the trailers, you know Bill and Ted have to go off to the future to try to find, or they decide to go to find their future selves to try to get the song that they're supposed to write to unite the world, assuming the easiest way to do it is just to go to the versions of us that have already written it and bring it back to the now. The daughters, realizing their dads need some help, decide to go into the past to build a great band to come together to play this wonderful song once they get it or have it written or whatever, right? So we're having them go in two different divergent paths. We're not having them go on this adventure together. They're going on the adventure separately, which is critically important then that we use daughters instead of sons. Otherwise, you have half of a movie of Bill and Ted talking to future Bill and Teds and half of a movie of two younger comedians trying to be Bill and Ted. And instead, taking the daughter approach, you almost opened yourself up to having them try to be more faithful to who Bill and Ted are, because they're never going to be it exactly, because they're just a different gender. They're women. They're acknowledged as women. They're definitively women in this film without any part of it being about how they're female, which is so great for me as someone who's been spoon-fed this idea that we need all these strong female characters so that little girls can see themselves represented in film. And I don't care how many strong female characters you've thrown in my face, none of them represent me. I grew up where my tomboy that I was supposed to look up to was Hillary frickin' Duff, who was just like a little Avril Lavigne quote at that point, super straightened hair, big old lip gloss, and little mini skirts. That's not a tomboy, that's like the opposite of it. So people not understanding it, and then within the first 5 minutes of this movie, to see this chick with short hair, this broed out expression, a little bit of black eyeliner, wearing a tight shirt, a tight like surfer shirt, and baggy dude shorts with combat boots. I'm like, that's my freaking, you like raided my high school wardrobe. And just the attitude too. They're two chicks who are dudes who are super into music, right? They're just like their dads in that way. It is so refreshing because right from the start, we don't get a narrative where they're trying to be better than them, show them up, or anything like that. We get a narrative immediately that's sustained throughout the film that these are two daughters who are deeply enamored by their father's work, who are so respectful of their dads. Their dads mean the world to them, and everything they do and want to do is to help and honor their fathers. And it's so refreshing to see that when we get so very little of that in the world today. And even, you see in the trailers, couples therapy. Oh my God, their princess wives are not happy. They're gonna leave them? What? No, when you actually go into it, there is a whole, side plot of that relationship and how it's obviously strained, otherwise we wouldn't be in couples therapy. But the beautiful part is, there aren't two wives who now are suddenly so much better than their husbands that have outgrown their foolish, ideas of having a band and want to tell their husbands to grow up and this and that. They're two women who love their husbands as much as they are loved by them and who want to be in a family that works. They're not, taking them to couples therapy because they hate them and they want them to be better. They want to teach them how to be better men. They want to go because they're invested in this relationship. They want it to work out. And that's really the central theme of this whole film, which, as you may remember, the theme of togetherness, the theme of being excellent to each other, the theme of unity has always been a huge and integral part of Bill and Ted. I mean, even the whole premise of the first movie, going back in time and pulling these guys to the future, there's a huge element, as caricature as Socrates and Bob Genghis Khan might be, there's this idea that everyone kind of brings something to the table, that our past is important, has influenced our future, that we all are together in whatever this is. We all are together. We all share the same history and to an extent. We all share the same values to an extent. And that's really touched on in this one, and more so the idea of family. And not just the family you're born with, and not just the family you choose, but both. It makes no distinction between family that you're biologically related to and family that you've chosen to be a part of because you've just grown too close to those people. And that's such a beautiful message for the world we live in today that is so divisive, that is so interested in shutting people out based on differences of opinions, based on differences of how they live, of who they are, of how they act, of what they look like, and all these really arbitrary pieces that that go into how we fracture our society. And Bill and Ted 3 is the total antithesis of that. Bill and Ted 3 says, sit down, hold hands with the person next to you, laugh, smile, have a good time, feel good, and let's all come together. Which, goddamn, if we don't need that message out in the world right now. We need that more than ever. We need that more than pretty much anything else. And so that's why, okay, we have to go back on our happily ever after and take a whole new journey, right? But I'm totally fine with that because it brings us to this beautiful new place. It brings in more of this unity, more of this idea of peace, love, happiness, and acceptance, right? Without being preachy, without being didactic. It sits you down and says, hey, you're part of this. I'm not sitting here telling you how to think, telling you how to feel, telling you how to be inclusive. I'm sitting down here saying, hey, give me your hand. You're a part of this. You're a part of this journey. You're a part of this family. And that is what we need so much more of. And from a technical aspect, this film does a brilliant job of bringing in the stuff we like the best from the first ones, right? With the stuff while giving us that new story, right? Each film does a beautiful job of advancing us in the journey of Bill and Ted. We're teenagers who need to get our shit together so we can go have a band. Great. We're young adults out in the world whose learning that the world didn't work exactly the way we thought it did, having to try to figure out how to move forward from there and actually achieve the dreams we set out to. Great. Now we're middle-aged men with kids of our own, with families, trying to figure out how to reconcile having this dream and having this family. And again, it's another beautiful thing, because so often when we see that as a theme, what we see is that you have to choose. You have to choose between your dreams and your family. You have to choose between your hopes and your responsibilities. And this movie, as Bill and Ted always does, never asks you to choose. This movie tells you you can have it all. You can have both. You just have to figure out how to, but once you do, it is not impossible to chase your dreams and live the life you've always wanted while still having the beautiful stability of a loving home life. And that's such a great and, again, important thing for us to be hearing today. And so that's why I love this film. That's why it spoke to me. I straight up teared up at the end, and I'm not afraid to say that. And so now we're just going to move into some lighter spoilers, a couple lighter spoilers. I don't want to get too, spoiler yet. So I'm not going to give away the ending or anything like that right now. I'm going to get a couple lighter spoilers, because one of them does have to do with one of my only real criticism of the film. And I'll give you another warning before we get into the big spoilers, all right? So light spoilers, right? Like I mentioned, there's a little line that kind of justifies the gender swap. It's cute. It's some reference to how, hey, remember when you guys were kids, we used to call you Little Bill and Little Ted? And that's sort of the whole joke, is they set them up. They name, they call her, one's Theodora and the other's Wilhelmina, so that their nicknames can just be Bill and could logically be Bill and Ted. But so it works, right? And again, like I said, throwaway line. I didn't think they needed it. Like I said, the story needs it. They're not women for wokeness. They're women for the sake of the story, which I think is the correct reason and the correct way to do it. So enjoy that right off the get-go. I really enjoy the fact that they revisited some tropes from the first one and built upon them, right? Missy's back, and Missy is marrying Ted's little brother. That's how the movie opens. That's the wedding you see them playing at in the opening. And for me, it's perfect. It's brilliant. But I know I've been singing the movie's praises for over 10 minutes now, so what's wrong with this film? There's gotta be something wrong with it. Nobody makes a perfect movie these days. What's wrong with this film? And I really only have one complaint. It's not that much of a big one. Kristen Schaal plays, if you've read the spoilers and whatnot, Kristen Schaal plays Rufus's son. And she is a poor substitute for George Carlin. Nothing against her, take nothing away. It didn't feel like quite the right choice. She doesn't take away from the movie, but she really doesn't add a whole lot to it, outside of some of her interactions with her mother, because yes, her mother is now the new supreme ruler of the future, Rufus's wife. And we assume Rufus probably passed on, because there's no reference to him, but he is still, we do get a little holographic callback to him close to the beginning as well. And that's another thing, though, again, as much as I wasn't impressed with Kristen Schaal's performance and I wasn't impressed with that character, I did like the fact that she was faithful to her father, in the sense that she believed in his vision, she believed in what he did, she was there to carry on his work. And that was a really nice element too. That was a really, really nice element in there as well. And if you had a gripe, watching the trailers, why is the Supreme Ruler a woman now? Why are they gender swapping the future and this and that? Well, when you go in and look at it, the whole idea is, presumably Rufus probably became the leader of everything before he died, and now it's his wife, So it's the wife of Rufus. It's keeping it in the family. So I like that. That does work for me. Again, I just think that character doesn't add a whole lot. But then we get characters like Dennis, the robot, the insecure robot, who adds so much. What's nice about it is, because I think they really captured the best of both worlds with this dichotomy. We get Bill Sadler back as Death. Obviously, he's not the same Death he was at the beginning of Bogus Journey, where he's super derpy and kind of the butt of all the jokes. He's advanced in the story already, and they don't retcon his character just so they can go back to this jokey, stupid Death. They keep a little bit of that in there, but they've advanced his relationship and with Bill and Ted the same way they've advanced Bill and Ted's relationship with everybody else. So now we get Dennis the robot to recapture some of that silly, goofy elements that Death really really used to make Bogus Journey a lot of fun. So enjoyed that a lot. That was excellent. All right, so we are going to move into some of the bigger spoilers, some of the more, oh my God, don't tell me this. It was really just the ending, right? So the ending, and this is a line, it doesn't drive me crazy. It doesn't bother me that much. But when we get into the ending, we do get this one line right at the end. The girls have brought all these historical figures back to the present to have this excellent band. Bill and Ted have found the song they need to play, or figured out what they need to do, to make all this happen. And they come in and they say to their daughters, we figured it out. We're here to back you guys up. And I can definitely see right away everyone be like, oh God, no, there's backseat, the daughters are stealing the spotlight. And I agree, while the wording of that is not the best that it could be, the execution ultimately still works. Because when we get them on stage, the daughters aren't guitar players. They're not taking Bill and Ted's place in Wild Stallions. They're not taking their mom's places in Wild Stallions. They're, again, a very natural, logical progression, right? Young kids these days, super into music, super into, musical theory and all that stuff, grew up with musician dads. What are they doing? They're sampling. They're on stage live producing as this, wonderful concert of beautiful unity unfolds and whatnot. And their dads still come up front and center with their guitars. So it doesn't take anything away, even though the line itself is like, it takes nothing away from that. And so the conclusion that we build to, again, is this massive song, this wonderful piece of unity, because the whole idea is that what they figure out how to do, it doesn't matter how good the song is. It doesn't matter the song we wrote. What matters is that we're all going to come together at the same time and play it across time and across space, which is where we get to finally use the infinity button. Great little touch, great little thing. It's been in the phone booth since the first movie. We finally get to push that button and see exactly what that does. And it's a really beautiful ending, to the point where I legitimately cried. Not ashamed of it. I cried because I was so struck by how positive it was, by how upbeat, by how just so optimistic. When do we see that anymore? When do we see messages of hope, unity, and optimism in our films without any of the negativity dogging it, without any of the, the preachiness of it? This is how you achieve this happiness and these goals, right? When was the last time you sat down and saw a movie that said, hey, come on this journey with me? And you know what the point of this journey is? To make you smile, to make you feel good. That's what this movie's here for. It's here to make us feel good. So if you watch nothing else this summer, this fall, the rest of your lives, watch Bill and Ted 3. It is worth the price tag, 100%. It's worth the cost of admission. It's worth 90 minutes of your life, because who can't use 90 minutes of fun? Who can't use 90 minutes of smiling and laughing? Who can't use 90 minutes of feeling like everything's gonna be okay? And that's what Bill and Ted 3 delivers to you. So go out and watch it, or don't. It's up to you. It has my glowing endorsement. I like it better than the second one even. Nothing's ever going to be better than the original, obviously. But it is an excellent conclusion to this trilogy. It is an excellent follow-up to the first two films that we've got. It's just an excellent movie all around. Oh, and by the way, stick around for the post-credit scene, because it is also, you guessed it, excellent. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you press the like button. Make sure you share it around. Get the word out. We want people to know Bill and Ted 3 is not woke. It is a ton of fun. It is a great follow-up from its predecessors. So get the word out. Get people excited. Get people seeing this movie. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe to find all my other videos, all my other content, etc. Follow me everywhere. You guys are the best fans. And I'm going to steal a leaf out of Jeff's book and say, go out into the world and be excellent to each other. Also, party on, dudes.